Hey guys, I normally don't do these kind of videos. I'm getting ready to stream soon, but I just want to get this off my chest. Now, I've loved Honkai Star Rail. I've been playing it ever since 1.0, and I've been playing it every day since then. And the Penacony storyline from 2.1 to 2.2 for me has been immensely disappointing. Now, not so much the story, but the way they're telling the story. The storytelling for me has been incredibly frustrating and boring. In fact, the story itself could be really good. Right now, I'm saying it's okay. It might be better than that, but the way they're telling the story, it's really killing my enthusiasm for it. It's really making it tough for me to get engaged into the actual story because of how disappointing and boring the storytelling has been. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you've been playing the 2.1 and 2.2 story, you'll notice that the cutscenes have gotten much, much, much longer. Like, it's extremely long. We've always had cutscenes in the game, and we had kind of long cutscenes before. But if when you go through the Herta space station, when you're going through Belobog, even the Low Fu, there's a balance between the cutscenes and player interactivity. And I don't consider clicking a button to skip dialogue interacting with the game. Now, I'm not talking about you just have to do battles. Okay, gameplay is more than just battles. I mean, interacting with the game. When you're running through the environments, you're searching for treasure, you're talking to NPCs, when the characters are talking to each other while you're running around, when you're clicking on a trash can for something funny, for some jokes, when you're finding some side stuff while you're playing the story. Even in battles, when characters are talking to each other, trying to expand the world, expand their relationships with each other. We don't get that in 2.1 and 2.2. What we're getting is very long winded dialogue and very little interactions with the actual game. In fact, 2.1 is where it started, but we still got some gameplay where you're running around with one of the characters, one of the new characters. If I don't want to spoil it in case you haven't played it yet, but you get a new character, a guest character, and you're solving puzzles. You're running through an area, but it's just like that one area. Might have been two areas, but that's it. And then 90% of the rest of the game is just cutscenes where you don't really have any kind of interactivity. You just put the controller down or your hands off the keyboard or put on the phone and you just watch. 2.2 has gotten much worse. You get to interact with a guest character. I'm sorry, you don't get to interact with them. You get a guest character. This happens more than once, but there is no exploration. There are no battles. There's nothing to do with the character. You just run from one cutscene to the next cutscene to the next cutscene. You can't even explore the area they're in. They block off parts of the area. So you only go from one cutscene to the next, to the next, to the next. All it is a cutscene simulator. And that's not what the game has been about. For the past year, there's been more interactions with the player and the cutscenes and the game and the world. Penacony 2.1 and 2.2 is starting to change that completely. And the cutscenes are not necessarily long. Some people might argue that the dialogue is important. Everything that's saying is important. It's not. A lot of the conversations, they establish what they're trying to get through in like the first minute or so, and then they drag it out. Sometimes they repeat what they're saying with different words. Sometimes they reiterate, they reestablish things that we already established in previous cutscenes, just over again. And some of the cutscenes aren't even animated. It's just a still shot with dialogue over it. And these cutscenes go from anywhere from like 10 minutes long, 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long, the length of an anime, minus the animation some of the time. Now, you might think, well, it's important to establish some things, and that's why it needs to be long. Well, let's think about if it's going to be as long as an anime, what happens in an anime? I'm thinking free run. In half of an episode, because sometimes they have two plot points in an episode, in half of an episode, let's say 10 minutes in free run, they have an entire arc going through in just those 10 minutes. Like, they arrive at a village. Everybody's asleep. They find out it's a curse. One of the characters falls asleep, succumbing to the curse. They try to track down the monster. Another character drops. They're almost there. Another character drops. Now the last character who hasn't dropped gets their moment to shine, and they battle. And then eventually they resolve the issue. Save the village. Everybody wins, and they continue on the journey. None of that was rushed. Everything they said, everything that happened was precise and important and well established, and it was a complete arc. With these cutscenes, we're getting something the length of close to an anime with just one conversation. One conversation which could have been established everything they were trying to establish in half the time. This is bad storytelling. They are just extending the length. I don't know why they're doing it. Honkai Star Rail has never been like this until Penacony 2.1. I fell in love with Honkai Star Rail in 1.0 and on because of the gameplay, because of the interactions, because of the comedy, because of the cutscenes, of the way they used to have it back then. Now, it seems that they only want to do cutscenes, and the gameplay is becoming an afterthought. The player interaction is just a hindrance, something that they're forcing into. I don't want this game to play like Honkai Impact the Third. Honkai Impact the Third is a visual novel. Some people like it. I'm not playing Honkai Star Rail to play a game like Honkai Impact the Third. I'm playing Honkai Star Rail to play Honkai Star Rail. And right now, this does not feel like Honkai Star Rail. Now, I haven't finished the story yet. I'm about 5.5 hours in, and I'm so immensely disappointed with what I've seen so far. And I'm really hoping that in future updates, they revert back to the way they told the story previously, with more interaction with the players, more interaction with the world, more interaction with everything. I want to play the game. I don't want to watch the game. If I wanted to watch a game, I'll play a visual novel game. I would watch an anime. That's not what I'm booting up Star Rail for. And with so many other gacha games coming out soon, I don't have an infinite time. If Star Rail is going to continue with this kind of storytelling, which I am really not enjoying, it's like I don't want to move on, but I will. I like this game, but I'm not going to let myself be bored out of my mind just because I invested into it, which is going to suck. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. There's some really hardcore fans, and I understand. But the fact is, if you're liking the story, great. If you enjoy this kind of storytelling, great. If you're not enjoying it, but you're just kind of sticking around hoping it gets better, but you don't want to say anything, please say something. Because this is going to continue unless people say something about it. And I am a very tiny voice. I doubt this is going to get out there to anybody. But I needed to say something. And, well, that's pretty much it. So, going to get ready to stream. Choppy Crew streams on YouTube. Check me out there. And I'll catch you all later.